Welcome to the Model Annotations walkthrough. This is one of the team's favorite features that we're excited to be releasing to the public. It bridges the gap of managing project information and informing your Revit model. Since Layer is your building information management tool, you can now do all the coordination of feedback within Layer without even having to open a Revit model. There are different ways to leverage the Revit Model Annotations at each stage of the design. You can use them to coordinate model changes in SD, use them to update your Revit object's attributes, such as a floor or a ceiling finish in DD, verify quantities and locations as you move to CDs, and use your model to document site observations as you're going through CA. Now, let's dive into the feature itself. In this example, I want to do a quick review of my model and attach my findings. In order to do that, I have my central model published in Layer. I will make a new category that I will name Model Observations to track my findings. I will also start adding some fields that will allow me to collect information about those. First, I will add a date field to track a due date associated with each item. I will also add a select input field that will track which discipline will be responsible for each finding. I will add interiors, enclosures, structures, and MEP. Lastly, I will add a text area input field to add my comments. Okay, that should be enough for now. First thing I need to do is to create a new view inside my category. I will name this view Model Coordination, and I will select the model view from the list. This has only been accessible under the Models category so far, in case that seems familiar. I have a couple of settings to set up for this view. Under the Model dropdown, I will select the model that I have published to Layer. After that, I will select a view that came with my model. Under Views are included all my 3D views that are available, and under Sheets, all the sheets that are part of my model. I want to do a review in 3D, so I will select my 3D view. I will go with the Link Model Objects to Elements option for now. We will see how this is different from placing points in Model in a bit. I will view my model in 3D since I decided to use my 3D view. You can navigate the model in a couple of different ways. You can choose a section plane that cuts the model, so you can visualize the model from a bird's eye view. In this case, I will choose the first-person option that will allow me to navigate through the model itself. Okay, this is a good spot for my first finding. Obviously, these two chairs are overlapping, so I will add a note for the interiors theme to remove the one that is hitting the column. I will add a due date for this, as well as tag the interiors theme. Lastly, I will add my comment to remove the one that is hitting the column. Okay, let's move to the next finding in the model. I can pan around using both my mouse and my keyboard as I'm playing a game inside my building. In this situation, the column is not lined up in the kernel wall mullion, so I will add a note for the structures theme to line up the column with the mullion. Like before, I would add a due date, tag structures, and add my comments. Alright, let's move on to the next observation. This column can possibly be removed, and it will open up the space. Again, as I did earlier, I will have to complete the fields, due date, responsible discipline, and also my comments. Like in drawing view, I can also link the same model observation with another element. In this case, this column can also be removed to open up the space. By clicking on the link button, I can actually link that column with the same observation. Now, let's go through placing points in the model to see the difference. I am looking at this side of the building and I see that there are no columns to support the slab and the facade. For that, I will select the Place Points in Model option from my view settings. Then, I will start adding points along the curtain wall where there need to be columns. I can make this sphere larger or smaller, and once I set this up, it will remain the same for future annotations. Once I place the first point, I will need to complete the fields as before. Here, I will tag both structures and enclosures, as there needs to be coordination from both teams. Lastly, I will add my comments. The panel on the bottom right allows me to interact with my annotations. In case I close the side panel with the fields, I can hit Open Element to reopen it. I can use the trash can to delete the reference, and the X to get out of the current reference so I can move to the next one. Since I now have an observation associated with a sphere, I can now start using the link button to add more points along the curtain wall. Adding points allow me to be free of a specific element and gives me the flexibility to add annotations at will. Model annotations work also with the sheets that come with your Revit model. The workflow is very similar to the drawing view, but this time, instead of PDFs, you can use your sheets. I will create another view that is of a model type and name it 2D Annotations. Again, I will select the model that I have published in Layer. This time, under View, I will select my sheets. I will go with the Place Points in Model option for this view and hit Create View. First, I will zoom to one of the rooms on my sheets. As in Drawing View, I can either link to an existing model observation reference using the link button or create a new one. I will create a new observation and I will place a point inside my room. Like in 3D, I have this control panel on the bottom right that allows me to interact with my point. I will adjust its size, and that will remain like that for any new references that I create. When I drop a point, as expected, the side panel with the fields shows up for me to fill out. I will give the observation a name, assign a due date, tag a team, and add my comments. I can then deselect the reference so I can move to the next one. Again, I will add another reference on my sheet and fill out the fields that relate to this item. By clicking on the reference, I can open again the information associated with that. You will also see that there is a reference field that I had created that shows me where my point is on my sheets. That can be used for your reports when compiling information about your model observations in a document view. Lastly, in case your points needed to be moved, you can simply click and drag them to a new location on your sheets. Join us in our webinar with Zach to dive further into Revit Model Annotations and see how you can use them in your projects.